Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. We're here to discuss Spies, Lies, and Allies, Episode 5, where the situation helped out Gabo about as much as he helped the IRS with his tax returns. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We want to give a shout out to a couple of our patrons who have chose to support the show. Sharice Dick and Beck Hennessy. Thank you so much for your contributions. If you too would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/The Challenge Chronicles. Subscribe for $4 a month and get bonus content. We typically do about one extra bonus episode a week. We talked about some exciting challenge news in the last episode about All-Stars 3 will be filmed before the next season of the challenge, which I'm excited about. Trace is excited about. I don't remember. Rob, how did you feel?
I was happy with it. I thought that was a good move.
So if you want to get our full thoughts on that, you can go to Patreon, subscribe, and listen more. What did we think of tonight's episode?
It was a really weird episode. Like, it felt like there weren't many, plot lines as much as we kind of got, oh, here's what these people are doing for 4 minutes. Here's what these other people are doing for 4 minutes. And it wasn't anybody who we consider, focused parts that were getting the narrative, too. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of these periphery characters and stuff. So it was a very weird episode.
I
was very much middle of the road with this one. Like Rob, I felt like this episode should have been an hour and not 90 minutes because it feels like the calm before the storm. It seems like the Vet Alliance is about to, it's on the verge of explosion. And so this is kind of just an episode we have to get through to get to there is the way I felt.
Yeah, I don't know. It was all right. It was whatever. I don't get how we did not get a conversation between Josh and Fessy.
Did they just not talk? That was so weird.
There's no way. There's no way. They just didn't talk for however many days before the next elimination. You know what I mean?
I guess it's the thing. You do hear Fessy say that he's going to have Josh come to him, not the other way around. So maybe there was just.
No, I don't know if he said that.
They want to make a move. I don't know. I'm just guessing because it would be very odd they wouldn't show it.
He didn't say that exactly. He said that he knows that it's better for him to go to Josh and apologize for his game, but he's not going to. He doesn't feel like he needs to apologize for anything. And we saw because we did see Kaycee pretty much flat out in the Big Brother alliance as far as Josh is concerned. And his inclusion.
Very weird.
Yeah, it's very atypical for Kaycee. So that was kind of surprising.
There's only 4 of them, so now they just split it in half, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. It's not much of a. There's there was barely a Big Brother alliance to speak of, and then now I guess Devin is the one who has connections to both groups all of a sudden. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I really wish we would have gotten more of that. Instead, we just got a lot of conversation about Logan, Gabo, and Emmy. That's pretty much who the episode revolved around. Even Anissa, we got a little bit of Anissa's take and her thoughts about how she goes off. But, the episode really revolved around those 3 characters. And, even at the beginning of the episode, it was going to be, in my notes early on, I have written down, it would be shocking if Gabo doesn't go in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. At what point did we know it was going to be Gabo and Logan? 15 minutes in?
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes in. It was pretty telegraphed.
It was pretty transparent, and I'm fine with that. If that's the way that it actually played out in the house, I'm fine to see it that way. I don't need them to play tricks and try and hide stuff from us. But this episode is played out pretty much like this whole season is played out to this point, which is extremely predictable. Correct?
Yeah.
Something that we also didn't talk about, or not necessarily talk about, we didn't think through. They're actually going to be able to keep this. They could essentially keep throwing rookies in until the end of time, until they run out if they wanted to.
Yep.
Because every single time that a rookie pair wins, they will then pick 2 veterans, which leaves 2 rookies, which will then become a rookie pair and continue.
Well, not always the case. Like if this episode, if Logan had decided to pick Amanda, then Kyle would have gone back with Emmy, and there wouldn't have been.
Yeah, but the amount of veteran pairs are not in like a
It's
very
dwindling.
significant.
Well, how intelligent are these
supply.
rookies though? Like I think that's the play. I would take that, have there be no rookie pair for them to throw in, and then hopefully they start throwing haymakers at each other, and then I'm able to kind of skate by.
Rob, they're not smart enough to do that.
Some of them don't seem like they're like dumb.
Like nothing to this point has suggested to us that any of these people are very capable strategic players.
But I mean, the thing is, you only need one in that situation. Like it doesn't need to be. It's not like the voting where you need all of them to get bought in. That's just like if Esther, for example, finds her way into elimination, she's smart enough to pick somebody, or I don't know who are the smart ones that are left. Priscilla seems like she has a clue. Maybe Ed. If one of those just does that.
And to your point, it only takes one of them to think of that and bring it up to the other, the person that's going in, right?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
At that point, it literally only takes one person, and it benefits all of them, including the person that just won. So why aren't they doing it unless someone just didn't think of it? It just doesn't make any sense.
I just think they have other priorities where they don't have that sort of group mindset, and that they just want. It seems like all of them just want to be the last rookie left instead of shaking it up entirely and having there be a couple rookies that make it through and the best start going home. It seems like they're all just trying to claw for that one last rookie's left position instead of being a bit more aggressive.
Trey, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it matters because none of these jamokes are going to make it to the end anyway at this point. Like, Gabo, to me, was the one guy who had the opportunity to maybe slide through the cracks, and that, disappeared the moment he was put in a rookie pair. So I just don't think these rookies, none of them are going to make the final. Like, it's going to be an all-vet final. That's the way this thing's headed, and there's nothing that's going to stop that now.
Did all of you buy, or both of you buy, the fact that this was going to be a complete blowout of an elimination? Because no. I didn't. That's the way that the editors tried to portray it, and that's the way that they tried to depict it with the confessionals describing Gabo versus Logan. Like, Gabo seems fine, you know what I mean? Like, he can't do math and he can't do puzzles, but neither can Nelson. You know what I mean? Like, neither can.
It is the puzzle elimination.
Neither can like a lot of people on this show. So I don't really think that makes him that much different than some of the competitors that we see.
Well, for me, it was like we didn't really know. It's not like Logan's come in and been, turbo. Like it's not like he was some ace. And then with Gabo, it's like he doesn't give the appearance that he knows what's going on very much. But you never know if he's just playing coy or if he just stumbles into something. Like people.
I mean, I think a lot of it is what we found out from Amanda's Instagram Live, and we talked about this in our last Patreon episode, the language barrier for him was a huge issue. And that he, when TJ gave instructions for the challenge, people had to go back and kind of describe them to him and say it again so that he was able to figure out what was going on. And that was a significant obstacle for him and Tracy throughout their time on the show. All right. What are the high points of this episode that we have to touch on? What do we feel like we have to discuss?
I really feel like for me, there's Gabo talking, praying to the situation. It wasn't even during confessional too. He's just on the side of the elimination round, praying to the situation to come.
I don't think he.
Help. Is the situation really the person you call to help for a puzzle too? Really, that's really the one person you're reaching out to.
I mean, I thought that was hilarious. That was the one time throughout the course of the episode that I laughed out loud.
Yep. And the fact that they
I laughed harder than I had in a while.
Yeah.
It was, and then the thing before too with him talking about how he wants the cars and stuff. Clearly, the guy just watches Jersey Shore all day and just has his chains on and is just in astonishment about how people can be this way.
I think he's playing into it. I think that's what a lot of it is.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they really missed the opportunity to actually go to the situation and just get him to film like 10 seconds in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
And like talk to Gabo in that moment. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have cost them a whole lot of time or money to do that.
Where is he now? He's out of jail, right?
Yeah, he's not in jail right now.
They're doing another show, right? Like there's another Jersey
Well,
Shore season going on.
Well, I didn't know if he got put back in jail after the show was over.
No,
situation's crushing.
He's fine. Now, the other high points of the episode, I think it's noteworthy that CT won a daily this early in the season, because usually someone on Reddit did the perfect meme of CT in the first like 3/4 of a challenge season. It's that one of Shaq trying to hide behind a skinny tree and just kind of have his eye tilted out. And that's what CT does. Like, he doesn't try to make any waves. And the moment that he won the daily, I'm like, okay, so Gabo's going to go in, and then he's just going to roll the dice and pick another rookie male, and that's going to be that.
I don't get. So explain this to me. Why did CT want Logan to be the houseboat so much, and Gabo and Emmy to be the team that he picked in? It didn't make any sense to me.
No, I didn't get that at all either. Who cares? Why?
It doesn't matter. Like both of them are going in either way. Just have Gabo and Emmy be the houseboat.
Maybe obviously we're not there, so we don't know who has connections with the who. But doesn't this seem like this is rookie number 3 and this is rookie number 6? Like they're almost like nameless cast members in the background of a Judd Apatow movie. Like I don't see what the big difference is there.
It's a huge difference tactically if you're looking at this politically. Logan is more than likely going to beat Gabo in his view. So you don't want to be the person that throws in the person that wins the elimination.
He was telling him he wants him to put him in.
He wanted to.
Yeah, he told him he wanted to go in. He just didn't want to be the houseboat.
We didn't even talk about that too either, really. Just the fact that both of them just wanted to go in to get new partners was crazy.
Well, no, so the
one who they're trying to get.
This whole episode is summed up by the club scene when Kyle, Devin, and CT are talking with each other, and they're talking about how everything is going so great for the Veterans Alliance. CT's like, "This is phenomenal. I don't even have to upset anyone. People want to go in." And Kyle goes, "Do they not even realize there's no skull twist this season?"
They got the tape from last season. I think TJ's like pulling him out somewhere. They're just not seeing him.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then that was the other thing too with this episode. There was a lot of hookups this episode, really, or at least a lot of us dipping in on these different couples that have happened.
What's the full list?
Yeah.
We've got
Amber, Nelson.
Amber. We got Nelson, Berna. We've got Logan, Big T. That's a fun one. We've got, Tori trying to move in on Emmanuel now. That was on the bingo card for this season, right? That she's going to go for the guy that just looks like PBS Jordan.
Yes.
He's really just Jordan with like bolder earrings and bigger tattoos.
Yep.
Like a caricature of Jordan. That's pretty
yeah, it's like if somebody casted Jordan in like a PBS documentary.
Yep. I don't know. It really seems like this is going to keep up for a while. So unless one of the rookie pairs decides to choose a veteran alliance, this is going to keep up, right? Because next week, who's the rookie pair now? Emmy and Huey.
That's Huey and Emmy. Geez.
What are the betting odds for them to go to elimination next week?
Minus
holy
750.
Cow, dude.
Minus 750.
No, dude. It's like minus
40,000.
Like 1,000.
This is like when you're betting on like Putin to win the Russian election. Like that's the comparable odds for this. It's just yeah. Just count this one as locked in.
The
what
only
would have to happen for them not to go in?
The only way they don't go in is if they get in a fight with each other before the elimination happens, like during the daily or something, as they're competing, both hit each other, and TJ sends them both.
They're DQ'd. I guess. Because I feel like even if Emmy got DQ'd and Huey didn't, then Huey would still probably be going in elimination.
Yeah, he would still go in.
Yeah. It's just a rough spot, dude. And you see why, with the deliberations with Huey flipping out, which was crazy. But you also can clearly see the panic in his face, knowing that like, well, I've got the good partner now, and if I pick her, then I'm back on the bottom again.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get why Logan was really championing why did he want to go in? Like, I still
He
don't
wanted to
get
be able
that.
to pick his partner. He said,
Who cares? Like, I mean, like,
yeah, he
does he
does, I
just not
guess.
get that? Like, you can like, why would you want to go in now? Like, I mean, which one of the rookies does he really think that he's going to struggle against outside of like Emmanuel? Like, Emmanuel seems like he's pretty confident. Who are
No,
the
I
like?
think
If we had to,
I think he would struggle against most of the guys I've started. Huey, I mean, Huey was decent last elimination, but if anything, physically, you'd have to give him the edge over Huey. But then, I mean, like
oh,
Ed, I think I would favor Ed over him. Out of what we've
yeah,
seen
I would
so far,
favor Ed.
I would favor Emmanuel. I think him and Jeremiah is just a complete toss up. We haven't seen anything athletically from Jeremiah so far. We haven't seen anything really poor either. How many guys are even left outside of them at that point? Is that all of them?
It's pretty much it. I mean, we're almost to the point where this is a clean sweep of rookies.
Man, what at what point? Yeah, what are the odds on that? That it's just a clean sweep of rookies. I mean, it has to be like
Low,
it
low.
has to be
Like
low, but it can't be that low, right?
The only veteran that has gone home is Nam because of COVID. That's it.
well,
yeah,
and Anissa.
people like eliminated in elimination. Like,
Yeah,
what are the odds? It's just we clean out all the rookies before we get to any vets.
That's probably
I don't
minus
know.
350 right now because there's still the possibility that the vet alliance fractures next week. I think it's close. It could be next week. It could be the week after. But at some point, one of them's got to take a shot, and it'll be Fessy again because Fessy already kind of broke the truce once by putting Amber in, but nobody really cared because Amber won last year and she was very clearly at the bottom of the vet pool. And even Tori said it like technically she's a vet, but nobody was really seeing her that way. So
What do we think that looks like though? Because the way the vet gets put in is likely going to be the house vote because it's like there's the vet rookie pair getting put in. They're not being picked by the winners. And like, so you're gonna need. It's not like just Josh and Amber get pissed at Fessy and vote him in. Like you would need like a majority of the Veterans Alliance to vote them in. Like, why is Devin voting in either of them at this point? Or why is Tori voting in either of them at this point? I just think they all just play Switzerland and like, you guys can fight whatever. We're going to keep voting in rookies.
Yeah, I mean that's the smart play.
Let's talk about let's take a break from talking about kind of like the politics of the house for a moment. What did you think of the challenge for this episode? But actually,
I thought the mission was good. I thought the mission was very good. They're all going at once, test a variety of skills. We get to see how different pairs work together. I thought that was very good.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. It was also wasn't that long. It was 23 minutes in runtime, which for them is lightning speed.
Yeah, and we did get to see which rookies they wanted to spotlight, and it's pretty. It's also with this mission I like because it's not that difficult to see how people are doing compared to each other since everybody's in one heat. So like you can see Byrne is able to climb the obstacle parts of the course very quickly. You can see the same thing with Emmanuel. Obviously, CT is still money on puzzles. So I like being able to see how everybody did too.
Yeah, no, it was easy to follow. No, yeah, I mean, it was great.
It's interesting that Trace mentioned this at the top. It was interesting to see CT decide that he actually wanted to win this. Maybe it was unavoidable for them to win because like this is in CT's wheelhouse. This is exactly what he's good at, right? This is the reason why he won the final last season. The puzzles, math.
And then even though his partner was not great in the math portion, she killed the obstacle part of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much case in point why I have a hard time seeing Nelson winning a final or Corey, because it does seem like the show has made a conscious effort to emphasize this as something that they want to reward, right? Puzzles and math. And unless they get set up with a good partner, it's not going to happen. So at that point, it's pretty much that is like a prerequisite for them to just be in play to win.
I just think they stumble into the right partner, or it's also like, I don't know, man. I just don't think they're that much worse than the majority of this men's crop. I just don't think this men's crop is very good at puzzles in general. CT's obviously very good. Devin's very good.
Ed is very good.
Ed is very good. We have no idea
about Emmanuel. Fessy seems to be fine. He seems to be fine.
Fessy was like okay.
Huey, I don't think we have any idea. Or do we?
No, I don't think we have any idea.
I don't think Huey can keep a level head at any point. He's very
okay, but
very
you can not
emotional.
keep a level head and beat Corey in a puzzle.
Jeremiah, I don't think we know.
No clue.
Josh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
His have mostly been bad. I mean, he loses the puzzle purge and War of the Worlds 1.
Yeah, but at that
he's
point,
like being laughed at by Ashley on Total Madness when he tries to do the puzzle. So it's not sterling. Certainly, he beat Michi in the puzzle last season, but like I mean, Michi might have been one of the all time worst when he like literally could not know what his sider's puzzle was.
Yeah, but I mean, I would put Nelson closer to like that group than like the other group above it. And then Logan, do we know?
He and Anissa won the first mission, but I think that may have been just more Anissa than him, at least on the puzzle part.
I think that his puzzle ability was a little exposed here. Granted, there was a lot of physical climbing and stuff, but he kept having to go back up because he couldn't get the symbols. He had the symbols in the right place, but not turned the right direction. And you've got to be able to pay attention to those little details, and he did not. Maybe he'll be better next time, but if you were running a final today with what we see, it would be hard to put him in the good puzzle category.
I just am not overall impressed by what this men's group is offering. I think CT is going to be in a lot of trouble to make the final once these veterans do start having to pick at each other a little bit. Same with Fessy at this point. He seems like he's being somewhat ostracized. Then after that, I mean, we're looking at...
Hold on. Why do you think Fessy's being ostracized?
I think Josh has a stronger bond with Devin than Fessy does, and by extension, Josh has a stronger bond with Kyle. He has a stronger bond with CT. I think Fessy's a bigger threat than Josh, so I think he's outed out of that group. Plus, he also did
we only saw people kind of champion behind CT this episode, or not CT, but excuse me, Fessy. The only people that we saw champion behind Josh this episode when it came to this was Amber B. That's the only person.
I suppose I'm projecting a little bit more there. I just think they were being very selective with what they showed, and it was also like they were just in the same room as him. So like, you're going to tell somebody what they want to hear when you're in the same room as them. If you actually follow through on that's a different story.
And you're also talking about
the
most of that room was like the 90s.
That's reaching.
And that room also was all the female side of the house who don't care as much if he's a threat. It doesn't matter either way to them really. Whereas for the guys,
but he's also a number for him too, or they are.
I don't know. I struggle to see if the Josh Fessy Civil War happens, that the Josh won't have the political edge in that area.
I mean, it looks like it's going to happen next week. And I mean, yeah.
Do we anticipate that breakdown is going to be like explosive and exciting, or is the Big Brother alliance just kind of going to go out like a balloon with its air going out?
I lean more towards explosion. Explosion's where that's headed.
Yeah,
like usually these alliances breaking down is like super engaging, but it's also like Fessy's content and that people talk about him a lot, but I don't find like him individually driving storylines to be very engaging.
Yeah, I mean that's like my pretty much number one criticism with the cast right now. Like I don't find really any of these or most of these people engaging. A lot of these people that they've had on for like season on season at this point, like I'm just like don't buy super in. Like at this point, like he's one of the like most engaging people on this cast, but I don't like find him engaging.
Oh, see,
he drives a lot of storylines.
I think he creates a lot of stories, but he's not necessarily individually engaging in them. Like he like will come up and stuff just because of how he plays the game and how he approaches his relationships within it. But it's not like I don't know. It's not like he. I think almost anybody else in the cast would be better at driving the story than he would.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the only way that the current vets that they're using become, I think, interesting in a season is if the challenge goes full Survivor for season 40 and makes the call to do like Winners at War.
Yeah, but at that point, these people aren't. They have to cast people that aren't currently on the show.
Yeah,
right?
They're casting very few of these people.
Like I think someone has broken this down before, and I think someone did it in Discord recently. they talked over what they would have to do a all winner season, and it gets thin pretty quick.
I
Well,
just
you don't
think
even
it's
have to
possible for
do
the
you
show
don't
to
even
do
have
it.
to do all winners. You do what they do for champs versus stars for that last season, where if you've made a final, you're a champ.
They
Then,
never even qualified with a final. Like, it was just anybody.
pretty much. I mean, Tony won season 3, even though he was never a champ, but he had made a final, so that's what they counted as a champ in that season. So if you use that logic, like you've had to have run a final before to be eligible, it widens the pool.
Yeah, I don't know. They need to do something. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Like we've harped on this enough.
Yeah, I think one thing that has been interesting this season for me is it's felt like maybe just with these rookies flying off the wall so fast or giving them a bit more of a spotlight, but there seems like it's been a lot of people who just haven't really been a part of the season that much. Like, what's Corey done this season? He's gotten no
Nothing.
airtime whatsoever.
Nothing.
Literally, the only thing I remember from him is when Bettina was laughing in that one episode, and she's also been complete radio silence since that.
I wonder if the editors are like, we literally cannot talk about Corey and his kid again. We just can't do it.
Devin even made a joke. Devin made a joke about it in one of the episodes. He's like, I know Corey's here for his family. That was the throwaway thing. And I was like, yeah, thanks for saying it, because that's what we're all thinking.
Is he just taking the Darrell playbook or even the CT playbook from War of the Worlds 2, where he's just I am being absolutely invisible, and so nobody's looking at me?
I just think he's not doing anything. I mean, Nelson, if you in the Nelson Corey alliance, Nelson's the one doing stuff. So why do you need Corey's insight to what's going on?
This is the thing, though. We don't necessarily know if they're not doing anything. I mean, Amanda in the Instagram live pretty much listed ad nauseum a bunch of things that
Bettina apparently was hooking up with Fessy, and that was a thing. We haven't seen that at all.
Would want to see on the show, and the editors have just editors and or production have just have consciously chosen not to show us this stuff. And so I really think that could be what it is. At the end of the day, they're steering the show in a direction that's less entertaining than what we would perceive it, what we would want it to be. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And I mean, that's something else that Amanda mentioned in the Instagram Live, is that the people that are on the show think the show is boring right now, too.
I don't think she said overall boring, but she did say they have issues with it, yeah.
Something that was not boring was the conversation that Josh and Kaycee had. At what point in the show did that happen? I'm trying to find it in my notes.
It was pretty towards the beginning.
Was it after the challenge or before the challenge?
I think it was before the mission. We had a lot of pre-mission this episode.
Yeah, we did have a lot of pre-mission. All right, so Kaycee talks with Josh. Josh feels like Kaycee is treating her like he's a child. And Kaycee says, or pretty much suggests that he is acting like a child.
He's behaving like one, yeah.
Which she's not wrong. And at this point,
I don't think his behavior is that out of line with typical challenge behavior.
At this point, Kaycee is just done with Josh. And I feel like there's probably, this is definitely one of those cases where we didn't see the full story because Kaycee pretty much, this is not in line with her character of what we've seen on the show.
It was very weird.
She was pretty much like, all right, we're not talking to each other the rest of the season. The alliance is over.
What?
And so I wonder what happened that we didn't see. I wonder if Josh had, I don't know. What do you think?
I have no clue. I really have no clue. It's just this fight over Amber that Josh is upset about. And I get why they had a pretty good thing going. Let's just keep putting in these rookies. We've got all this time we can buy. I almost think he because on War of the Worlds 2, it's always a question if Josh doesn't pull the trigger on Wes in episode 3, just what kind of happens to everybody from that point on, if they're just able to little kind of snowball from there. So I think him seeing Fessy again pull the trigger early like he did earlier may have launched a particular trigger off for him. And then it's also I just don't I can see why he's upset. And I don't get, but I also don't get why Kaycee makes almost no efforts to make amends seemingly. And that it's just done. It was very weird to me.
Yeah, and I mean that could be a lot of it. We've seen Kaycee countless times be the peacemaker for the people in the Big
Yeah.
Brother alliance, and it's interesting why this time she's just decided to not include Josh in the alliance
Like, is she
anymore.
just confident in her numbers otherwise?
That has to be what it is. Like she thinks she doesn't need Josh because she's not stupid. Like she's one of like the smarter people on this show politically. I don't. I put like very few
I,
people ahead of her.
I mean, she could be confident that she could also be wrong. Like, we've seen plenty of people be wrong about where people stood in the house before.
If you had to bet on Kaycee's side or Josh's side, who are you gonna put your money
I
on?
really think that like that Josh side of the house, once you if it does split where it's Josh and Amber and then their crew, and not even really Amber because Amber doesn't have any connections, but it's Josh's side over there and it's Kaycee and Fessy's side on the other side. I really think Josh has the hold on this one.
I agree.
If I had to bet who's going further in the game between Josh and Kaycee, I'm saying Casey's going further for sure.
I'll take that bet.
Really? How much you want to bet?
I actually would too.
$15.
15?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Like I would be willing to do more too, but I feel like we didn't really go above 15.
Let's do 15.
All right.
I think that's a good bet.
Do we have a Josh versus Fessy bet? Or we had a Nelson versus Fessy bet?
I think Josh goes. I think Fessy's done for soon. I really do.
I really do too. I don't think he has the numbers. I don't think he has the connections. I think the rest of it. Like we saw him talking this episode, but it was all like the girl side of the house who like aren't going to have as much stake to keep him around as the guy stake
Why don't
will
they have
have.
as much stake? Why don't they have as much stake?
Because he's on the like. But for the other side of the house, whether they're good or bad, typically it if we're in the game and we're on the male competition side of the house, obviously, whoever's there in the female competition side of the house is like irrelevant largely if they're good or they're bad.
Say that again.
Like it doesn't matter as much if the other side of the house, like if you're the men, the woman, if you're the woman, the men. It doesn't matter as much how good or bad they are. It matters your side much more because you're competing against your side. The other side you might be paired with, but outside of that, they're competing against each other.
The women still have a vote, though. I don't get what you're saying. It's not like you have to vote with your partner, and they still count just as much.
Well,
as
you have to vote in a pair.
Yeah.
No, but you have to vote in a pair. Like you have to vote a pair into elimination. Like they're going to care more about Fessy's partner than him.
Yeah, and I feel like in this particular game, Fessy has almost zero male allies at this point. So if you're a male vet or even a rookie male,
who is his
at
male
this
ally?
point, he doesn't have one anymore. It was Josh. That's it.
I mean, Nelson. We've even forgot about his beef with Nelson. Nelson does not like him. Corey's siding with Nelson over him. Devin's siding with Josh over him. If he and Josh are really done, CT is definitely not keeping him around, or Kyle. Like I don't see where that's coming from.
Fessy is in the Jordan spot of Total Madness. Like he's a good competitor.
That's a good call.
He's a good competitor who's got no help, and the only help he's got right now is Kaycee, and maybe Nany because of Nany's relationship with Kaycee. But aside from that, nobody's got his back now. And that was why it was so stupid in my opinion. That is why it was so stupid in my opinion that he put Amber B in, because he pissed off the one guy who had his back. And if the one person who has your back says, please don't do this, don't fucking do it. It's that simple.
And it's one person who had a lot of other connections too.
Yeah, like I mean, we all universally thought that was a terrible move. And didn't get
I also like. Yeah, you go ahead.
Like we all thought it was a terrible move. Like we didn't think he should do it. We all thought it was too soon. Like there really wasn't any reason for him to do it. But at the end of the day, I also don't get why Josh is so up in arms about it, which numerous people have brought up too. Like I just don't like it's Amber B. Like who the fuck cares? Like she she has no one else on her side. She has no one included in her alliance. When she even like brought up this episode, what she's going to do moving forward, we didn't really get an answer. So I mean, both ways, I don't really think that they acted correctly.
I think Josh is looking at the potential female partners for the final, and he's looking at Amber going, well, she just won the final. Nany came in third. Ashley's a powder keg. And then you just go down the list. Amanda is bipolar at times with her decision making and her emotional outbursts. I'm looking at that.
I think she's pretty consistent in regards to her decision making.
Yes, but no. I'll agree to disagree on that. But I think he's looking at who he might run a final with, and Amber is what he feels is his best chance at winning if he goes to a final and it's a pairs final. I think that's where his head was, is like, my best chance to win is having her as my partner, and that's why he was so pissed.
But he thinks he's going to be partners with her throughout the rest of the season? Like, I mean, it's episode
I think that's
4.
what he
We
wanted.
Still have, like...
I think that's what he wanted. I could see that. I think that's a bad reason if that is. I really think a different reason and a better reason is just we've had the veterans are steamrolling right now. Why are we taking this train off the tracks? You can't, like, with any of these things, you can't just take a slight detour and then hope to get back on the tracks. Once you pull the train off, like, it's not very easy to push it back on. Like, well, I mean, if you're the one who's doing the pushing, then the other people are going to be pushing right back on top of you.
I don't know. It might be easier than we think because that's pretty much what's happening right now. The train went right back on the tracks, and it seems like it's going to go that way again next week. So, like, maybe... And I think... So, if he does that against someone else besides Amber B, it probably goes different. And I feel like that... Like, if we're honest about this, that probably factored it into his decision, right? Like, he knows no one has Amber B's back in the house. And that no one's... And, yeah, and no one's going to be, like, super up in arms, especially on the male side, about him throwing an Amber B.
Well, again, but outside of Josh, who is his main male ally,
I know,
and his connection to the rest of the house.
But, like, think about it. Like, literally no one else... We didn't get anyone else, like, saying that they felt slighted about this, and it's like, oh, this is now the end of the Veteran Alliance. We didn't get, like, one single confessional about that.
Nope, Tori was the only one that says, well, you know, Amber's technically a vet. That was the closest we got to it.
She's been getting a lot. They've been giving her a lot of, like, the third person narration so far. It's been a lot of her, Nelson, and Nani who have just been kind of chiming in on people.
I haven't gotten as much from Nelson on that. It's I definitely noticed it with Tori tonight. Like, they're sprinkling her in a lot just when they don't need to, right? It could go to anyone. We're getting a lot of kind of what she's thinking about what's going on in the house. Like,
you don't think as much with Nelson?
How many confessionals did he have this episode?
How many did he have?
I think Huey had more than he did.
For sure.
I had him now for 3, so it was been more of a down episode. Logan and Gabo took most of them.
3 on the challenge is like nothing, right?
No, it really is a
90-minute episode.
Maybe not this episode as much.
90-minute episode when they just do a bunch of short confessionals too.
Yeah, I mean this episode. So for the confessional breakdown, real quick, Logan had the most by far with 13. Then Tori was 7, and then Gabo was 6, and then nobody else was above 4.
Tori had how many?
She had 7.
Yeah, I mean that's a ton in an episode where she really wasn't involved.
She
in any way.
The only thing she did was hit on Emmanuel for a second.
Did we learn anything major from the mission that we didn't already know?
Not really. We've kind of gotten I guess we got a repeat of how good Berna looked when in her elimination. I thought she was, like it wasn't anything special either way. So we got that. I mean, Emmanuel, they've been really trying to highlight as a good competitor throughout, so I don't think that was unique in any way.
It does seem like Kaycee has improved somewhat on her math skills since Total Madness, because Emmanuel and her were the first team to be able to get to the point where they were able to put their puzzles together. So that is interesting to see.
How would we rank in terms of just performance and mission? It's not necessarily standing in the house. If we just looked at all the pairs as they stand right now, who would be the ones we particularly pick out to be major threats to win missions going forward?
For pairs?
Yeah.
CT and Berna have to rise to the top.
I think Fessy and Esther should be number 1.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I would probably...
I think they've just been the most well-rounded.
I would say that Esther is definitely better than Berna is. I would say the types of missions that we've seen at this point. I think Ed and Tori are also very capable. I'm not exactly sure who's holding who back in that group. I think it would probably be Tori's holding that group back more than Ed is.
I think Emmanuel and Kaycee I'd put above them.
I would agree.
Those would be the four that stick out initially. Ashley and Josh, I think if they stumble into the right kind of mission, could be. Same thing with Amanda and Kyle. I think they both kind of play into similar strengths. I think if they stumble into the right kind of mission, they could be good.
I mean, it doesn't seem like Nelson is going to break his streak in the foreseeable future. It seems like that's
He'll get one eventually this season.
Yeah, I mean, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
I mean, they really just don't have much incentive to try right now. It seems like I don't know why CT was gunning for it so hard.
That's what I mean. Like, if they don't really have an incentive to try, like, I mean, they still want to. They're still apparently wanting to do it. Like, Kyle's like willing to backstab Devin last episode. CT's winning for no reason at all when it can only.
I really think the Kyle with Devin thing was he just like didn't want to burn a bridge with anybody else. I really don't think it was him trying to win. I know he said that in his confession. I just don't buy it.
I mean, I think if that was his actual reason that he didn't want to burn a bridge with anyone else, I think he would have said that.
I mean, in the aftermath, he specifically said that he had just made a deal with Esther and Anissa to not put one back on them if they didn't on him. So he was that was what he said, and on that show, which is a little bit less edited than this show is. I really this is kind of going back to this is what I really liked on War of the Worlds one where they expanded the winners group more outside of just one pair. I just think if you extend it down to 3, first of all, you get more contention in like the votes. Right now, all the votes are just one pair member says one thing, the next one agrees, and that's it. There's no actual there's no conflict back and forth at all. And then it gives a lot more people incentive to try in the missions because then now you actually have the second and third are open and you get power out of it instead of just first.
Well, I mean, I don't even think that really does it. I mean, it does it to some extent, but I've seen people bring it up in Discord. It helps, but really what you do, and I've seen people bring it up in Discord, and someone brought it up.
Frank brought up a great idea on our draft, too, we should talk about too.
He brought it up, and that's his name?
Yeah, Frank. He was when we had our fantasy football draft this Monday night. Frank had a very good idea for elimination.
You have to at least try making it so the bottom team or one of the bottom 3 teams are the people who go in for elimination. And that at least gives you some incentive to not want to finish last, right? But then at the same time, we get, I mean, there were seasons where that was the case, and we see people just wanting to be right in the middle. Remember?
Well, so what Frank was saying was that if you're not in the bottom half of the teams, then you're not eligible for elimination. So only the bottom half is eligible to be put in on one of the votes. I forget which one he said, but if you're in the bottom half, then you're eligible. If you're in the top half, you're not. Yeah. Greg also mentioned this is something I had talked about too.
Go ahead.
I can explain it real quick, but just basically that you have the winners pick a team, and then you have the house vote in a team, and then you have the last place team. The 3 of those play rock, paper, scissors, draw skulls, whatever, and then there's one of them who escapes the elimination, and the other 2 go in.
Trey?
Yeah, no, what I was saying is it's very much the free agent style, just without the kill cards. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. And I think it worked for free agents really well because some missions, half the house was eligible. Other missions, everybody but the winning 2 were eligible. So, I mean, it really threw for some interesting politics depending on how all that shook out. So, I'm very much in favor of that. The one area I disagree with you on, Rob, is I hate the Troika stuff. I really do. I mean, other than immunity, I feel like if you win a daily mission, if you're the winner of a daily mission, you should get a reward beyond immunity. And if they're not going to do quote unquote reward challenges where you get a prize or something, the prize is power. And so it incentivizes you to do everything you can to win if you want the power. The problem is a lot of these vets don't want the power. They don't want to have that target on their back, but they're about to have to, because these rookies, they're about gone. I mean, they're very close to being gone. So now they're going to have to try. They're going to have to get the power because otherwise they're very vulnerable. I mean, if you're Kyle right now, you've got to feel vulnerable once there's no more rookie males to throw in. If you're Devin, you probably feel that way, but he's pretty entrenched politically, so maybe not. But I know CT's going to feel the heat, and I know Fessy's going to feel the heat.
If you're the producers, is this season gone as poorly as possible for you?
No. I think this episode was not good. It was a weird episode. It was just things happened that weren't great. But I think that's we liked last week's episode. We liked the first 2 episodes. We've had 2 below average episodes out of 5 so
One was
far.
like one of the worst episodes in like years.
It was
I
bad.
think that's
this
strong.
episode,
Like I think you're really forgetting some of these things. Like
episode 3. Episode 3 was like absolutely like atrocious. Like I was like ready to fall asleep. Episode 3 was terrible. I actually think I might be higher on this episode than the 2 of you, to be honest. I didn't think like it wasn't great, but I just mean I'm not even talking about the overall quality of the episodes. The overall quality of the episodes has been very poor. What I'm talking about is all of these people, new people that they're bringing in, who they want to try and build some storylines around and build their audience from by showing this in other countries, are going home. None of them are sticking around. None of them are doing well. That's what I'm concerned with.
yeah, and it's disappointing too because I actually think some of them I've been entertained when they've been on TV. I liked Kellish a little bit. We got him. I like Tasha. I liked Esther. Like I like a lot of these people when they've been able to be on TV. But it's just a lot of them have gotten 2 or 3 episodes and then they're out. So that is a disappointment for them. I mean, it's one of those things where they definitely shot themselves in the foot with how they set this season up. Like it should have been. I always wonder how much do you think they game out these formats? Like, do they test these out at all in terms of like, all right, if we just logically work through this, how we're proposing it, how is this going to play out? Like, do you think they do that at all, or not really?
I bet there's minimal time put into this, like very minimal time.
Which is because it has such a huge effect on the product.
I bet they don't think about it that much.
They probably don't.
And that's why you see subtle adjustments from season to season, right?
Yeah.
Because I bet you they just think about what happened last season and they're like, how can we tweak it a little bit, right? And that's why we haven't really seen radical changes in formats. We haven't seen anything like super wild and out of left field.
I mean, I think War of the Worlds 2 was a pretty radical change. I even think some of the stuff that in War of the Worlds 1 was a pretty big change. On Total Madness, the Skulls was a pretty big addition, even if we did not like how they played out.
Yeah, I would actually disagree with you, Evan, really, really strongly there. I think that it has been very little adjustment from Double Agents to this one, and Double Agents as a whole was so boring that it just feels like it's been multiple seasons.
The thing is,
it's been long too. Like it's been long.
War of the Worlds 2 was different from what they've done, like in this more recent period. But how different is that from like some of the other stuff that they've done in the past? Right? Like it was just a team season.
Here's the thing: the last
but how different are any of their
formats
formats at that point? Then
I mean, Free Agents was really different. The Duel is really different.
I don't think Free Agents is that different from like the Duel.
I think it's very different, but I'll disagree with you on that there. The other one that I think we have to keep in mind with the War of the Worlds 2 format, the last time they had a 2-team format of any kind was the Ruins. And so it had been almost 10 years since they did a true team challenge. So it did feel fresh. And the problem we have had since Dirty 30 was like the last like real original format, you know, in terms of like, oh, this feels different. But it was more of like an amalgamation of several different season formats. It was like Free Agents bundled with Free Agents bundled with
X's 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That was what it was. And then you get to Vendettas, which was just batshit awful, and then Final Reckoning. Final Reckoning was just atrocious. And then you get to War of the Worlds 1, where there was a good course correction, but it wasn't that original of a format, aside from the pairs became individuals. War of the Worlds 2 was the team challenge, but it was radically different compared to anything for almost 10 years. Then you get to Total Madness, and aside from the Skulls twist, nothing real revolutionary there. Double Agents, that was revolutionary to do partner switching. And then this season is basically Double Agents 2 Electric Boogaloo, except there's no rogue agent crap, thank God. So,
my thing is like I don't think that the formats they did it before were that different. Then I think compared to any other reality show, they have exceptionally more variety in formats compared to Survivor, compared to Big Brother, compared to Amazing Race. Like I think they're much bigger differences. I mean, the number of people who win on the challenge actually changes season by season, which for any of those shows is almost universally not the case.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah.
Well, the challenge sometimes has 2 winners, 1 winner, 4 winners, 9 winners.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
a big part of the format, though.
It's mostly 2 and 1.
I mean, it's not universally, though. And how those 2 and 1 are determined is very different. Like any other show, it's like the same
Like,
format basically every season by season.
If I'm the producers, and I'm not necessarily just focusing on the format, I'm just talking about everything in general. If I'm the producers, like, I'm going to everyone that works for the show, getting them in a room, and I'm like the Billy Bob Thornton in Armageddon when they're trying to figure out how to like blow up the asteroid, and I'm saying any idea that you've ever had that you've written on the back of a napkin or thought up in a dream, let's hear it right now.
Yep.
Because I think that's where we're at.
I think
so
honestly,
too.
I think in a lot of ways they've gotten too creative.
Dude,
No.
like I feel like we're struggling. Like I feel like we're struggling to talk about this shit. You know what I mean? Like we're fucking.
I really think
I apologize to everyone listening right now. This is like the fucking flattest episode I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well,
Like we at least need to like try and like put on a performance for everyone, like in spite of everything that's going on.
I really should have just made Gabo situation jokes for 15 minutes and then gotten out of here. But
Probably. Okay, but let me do some hard color commentary here on this. Okay, so
I want to hear your like Skip Bayless like takes on this right now. Like I want to just hear you just like rip.
What they need to do is rent a rocket ship and do this in space. That's a Skip Bayless take. Let me give you a realistic take now. A lot of the problem is the format name of the season doesn't tell you shit as a casual viewer. Okay?
That's true.
Spies, Lies, and Allies. What the fuck does that mean? Double Agents. What the fuck does that mean? Total Madness. Really, what the fuck does that mean? Now, think about popular seasons. Rivals. Got it. The people are rivals. Cool. Battle of the X's. Oh, we've got 2 X's paired together. Holy shit, that's going to be combative. War of the Worlds. Oh, great. We've got people from all different countries competing. Got it. Dirty 30. Don't know what the fuck it means, but it's got a triple X logo. I'll check it out. You know, a lot of the issue they're going here is I think that it's not so much the game format, but the name of the season means a lot to a casual viewer. No matter how shitty this show is, the hardcore people are going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. You're going to watch it. Rob's going to watch it. You might binge watch it instead of watch it weekly, but you're eventually going to get around to watching it. In order to grow the show, you've got to hook people with things that are easy to grasp. And if you're a channel surfer who has watched the challenge in the past and you come across Spies, Lies, and Allies, you don't know what the fuck's going on when you see this.
It is a really bad name.
And so
it's terrible.
That is why the reason that Rivals was successful, Battle of the X's was successful, Invasion of the Champions is successful, is the name of the season alone gives a casual viewer enough of an idea of what is going on that they can then spend the rest of their time absorbing the storylines. Spies, Lies, and Allies.
It is an atrocious name. Like I don't even know if we talked about how bad. Like they've had a lot of trouble naming seasons recently too. How many names have been changed? Like we had War of the Worlds 2, which was supposed to be Bloody Hell, but then MTV didn't want that on their guide info, I guess. So it makes all these weird things when TJ's talking about it. Then remember Total Madness was like Battle for Independence or something.
It was Battle for Independence originally, and
it's just a weirdly like. Kind of takes you out of it when there's like no actual thing saying Total Madness. I wouldn't know it's called Total Madness. They didn't splice TJ's name in. I do think there were a lot of other reasons why Rivals was successful besides having the name Rivals. Like there are a lot of other things that go into it, but I do think it is not great.
Let's bring this up in the context of this conversation too. That 2 weeks ago was the lowest rated episode in the entire history of the show. Last week's episode was the second lowest rated episode in the history of the show. Like, I mean, they're just struggling to like keep people on board, right? And I think it goes back to what I've said this whole like the last 2 or 3 seasons, and that sure the ratings may have been good at the time, but you're judging the process on the results and not necessarily the process in and of itself, right? My argument has always been it's like, yeah, they're good, but can they be better, right? There's the hidden evidence involved, and I think it's finally catching up to them.
I really think the ratings issue is like 95% time slot. I really do. I just think if you look previously at seasons that have rated well and seasons that haven't, seasons that air in the spring time slot, if you look on that list of like the recent seasons, have always rated better than the ones that have rated in the fall. And there's also not a significant correlation, at least to me, and maybe my perception of just audience view on things is just wrong. But like the lowest rated episode outside of this season was War of the Worlds 2 episode 5, which was the episode after Benedict Laurel on War of the Worlds 2.
We also
Like,
don't know what else was going on at that period of time too. Yeah, but I mean, I think
for
that's
sure,
what it comes down to. That's never going to change. You're always going to be battling for eyeballs in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
you could
Like,
do a better job of it than they did this time. This was
What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Like keep bouncing?
Don't air it over
show
top
around
of Big
on
Brother
different
and
days?
then subsequently Survivor. That's an easy one.
I know, but dude, that's the thing though. Like they're not quick enough to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to handle that. Like, so are they just going to now start showing it on different days? Because the show has been airing. The show has been airing like alongside Big Brother and Survivor for a long time too. Survivor's been on Wednesday nights for like years. So like I'm assuming Big Brother has too.
Yeah. Here's the biggest
So that
issue.
hasn't changed.
Here's the biggest issue with the ratings. Throw away the overall rating, okay? That's really irrelevant at this point. The rating that they care about is the 18 to 34 demographic. Survivor does not get a great rating in the 18 to 34 demographic. Big Brother does not get a great rating in the 18-34 demographic. Their viewership trends older. Now, with the challenge, since they care the most about the 18 to 34 demographic, their problem is that All Elite Wrestling is the highest rated 18 to 34 demographic show on cable now. And they're head to head with AEW Wrestling every week. And that company has so much momentum right now. For those of you who don't watch wrestling, they had CM Punk return, who hasn't been around in 7 years, and he's a huge ratings draw, and their ratings have gone up. They just signed 2 huge people away from WWE who just debuted this past week, and tonight was their first appearance on their show Dynamite that airs head-to-head with the Challenge. I would not be shocked if tonight's episode becomes the lowest rated episode ever in that demographic because of everything that's happening with what is now the number 3 show on cable that's not news.
Because we've even talked about it with our patrons. Like we have a lot of patrons who are wrestling fans. You know what I mean? So it's clear that they're competing with those people. You know what I mean? Like
this
is an issue.
It's also pretty logical. Like I think the way that the Challenge actually builds stories is pretty similar to wrestling, and that it's very rivalry based, very like building up a rivalry and then having it culminate in a climax at the end of it. Like that's one of the things I really enjoy about the show is when they're able to pull that off. So it does make sense as a logical like competitor for it.
So it's one of those situations where I think the Challenge is at a point where they need to think about Tuesday nights because there's not an 18 to 34 show on that they compete with.
They just have to do it. They have to move it. I don't think they have any choice. Because what are they going to do? Because like how many years has it been since they've been competing with Survivor and Big Brother on the same night? Like how long? Survivor's been on Wednesday nights for a long time.
Do the seasons usually air over top of each other though?
Yes, they often overlap because Survivor usually does 2 seasons a year, so they usually overlap
always,
at least.
Except for last year.
I think that if I remember correctly, the Challenge started airing on Wednesdays around the Ruins.
No.
So since
I remember Invasion was on Tuesdays.
Okay, maybe it's fluctuated some because I remember when the Challenge first aired, it was always Monday night at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock. It was one of the two. Or maybe it was 8 o'clock and they aired a repeat of it at 10. So I vividly remember that Monday night was Challenge night, and then Tuesday was the Real World, and Wednesday or Thursday was Road Rules. And that was kind of their cycle. As Road Rules dropped, I think the Challenge moved around before it finally settled on Wednesdays. But a lot of it is their built-in audience is picking something else, which says a lot. The casual viewing audience of the Challenge is either not turning on the television, they're DVRing it, and they're watching AEW live. Because it's a live show in a live arena. All
right, Rob. You have your meeting with Buna Murray. You get one chance to pitch to them your big idea on what's going to save the show. What are you telling them? You get one idea. What are you telling them?
That is a rough one. Like, what am I coming in with? Full resources to present the idea, or is it
You get
just like
one
I'm
idea.
giving
You
them
can
a?
do anything you want, Rob. Anything.
I'm just
You've
saying it's
got a
like one note
napkin.
card I'm sliding across the
You've
table.
got
Or
a
am I pitching
napkin
it?
No,
that
you're
you've been
telling them.
doodling
You
on.
gotta sell this to them. This is gonna save the fucking show. Like we're ready to like get this knocked off the fucking air. You're in there.
I think
You're gonna
I
tell them
think
what's gonna
we're
do it.
somewhat overreacting in that.
No fucking shit. But this is how we're trying to save this podcast episode. So go.
I mean, I really say we take the budget that we're putting into explosions and helicopters and fuel. We put that primarily into the cast. First of all, we can save some of it, which is good.
We can all agree on this. We can all agree on this.
We take this, we identify high value added cast members, and then pay them what they want. If we need to have some fillers outside of that, that's fine.
Pay them whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, just identify those people, pay them what they want, get a diversity of them too in terms of like, you know, people who represent different demographics, people who come from different parts of the show. Like we want people who represent different demographics, people like frequently, you know, like
There's history with.
But then we also want like your Coral coming from nowhere type people. We want, you know, strong.
But in the same way there's a lot of history there too. You know what I mean? So like, I think I've heard people say that Johnny has talked about this on his podcast, and I haven't listened to it. But one of his big criticisms is, who the fuck are these people? Who are these rookies? Like, why should anyone care? Yeah. And that he said, and I'm just saying what I've heard other people say, that he was like, you just had All Stars. It was a wild success. And you don't bring any of these people on the show and put a bunch of these rookies on who no one's ever heard of and don't care about. So I would agree. I think that's the number one thing. Trace, would you concur?
Yes, except I say there's two things you have to do in addition to the cast, okay? So take that $3 million you're spending on Pyro and put it in the cast. You know why? $3 million means everybody gets a $100,000 appearance fee, okay? That's a good payday to show up and leave episode 1 if you're Johnny Bananas or Wes or whomever, okay? That's a huge payday to show up and be gone in a couple weeks if that's what you want to do. On top of that, the next thing you have to do, you have to have other shows in the universe on MTV being featured on the challenge. One of the biggest issues we've had is that the challenge started between the Real World and Road Rules cast members, okay? Now a veteran is considered someone who's been on the challenge more than 2 seasons. So let's say that you are someone who loves the Real World and you were just in love with Bruno. You thought Bruno hung the fucking moon. You don't really watch the challenge, but you think Bruno is going to be on the challenge and you see him advertised. You're probably going to watch the fucking challenge at that point to see Bruno. There are no feeder shows on MTV giving them any cast members anymore. So you need to find some budget and not just put it on Paramount Plus. You need to consider putting All Stars. I mean, let it run on Paramount Plus, but you also need to run All Stars on MTV. You need to find a way to bring the Real World back if you can, or Road Rules like they've said.
Some other show.
They need something. I mean, hell, but even Are You the One? They at least were known entities coming in.
At the end of the day, there's still, it's still about the characters, right? Like that's what's driving this, and I think they've lost sight of that. At the end of the day, it's the cast. That's what people tune in for. They're not tuning in for explosions.
They're not tuning in for formats. They're not tuning in for twists. They're tuning in to see people they want to see interact and compete.
We were talking about that like bullshit dating like show that took place in like a ski lodge or something. What was it called?
X on the Peak.
X on the Peak.
X on the Peak, right? Like I had never heard of this before. You guys told me that Laurel was on it, and in my mind it was like, oh fuck, like I might want to like tune in for a little bit. I have no interest in these like bullshit dating shows, but Laurel's on it. I'm gonna like actually think about fucking watching it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do think like we have a stronger connection to those characters. I think what they've been trying to do is to take that connection to people who have characters from outside the MTV universe and then bring them into the show. Whether they've been successful or not, you know, it's case by case.
That's fine. Like, I think that bringing in the Survivor and Big Brother people is smart, okay? Like, I actually fully endorse this. The thing that is difficult for me to explain right now is the majority of this cast is people no one in the United States has ever fucking heard of. and they make most of their money from the United States audience. The casual U.S. viewer turns on and sees Gabo and goes, "Fuck this guy," and turns the channel.
I think
Sorry.
people could find Gabo.
So that's the issue. Like, if they're trying to like bring these other people on that are big characters on the other shows, they definitely fucking failed when it comes to Survivor. Like, no one cares about Tommy. Like, no one cares about Michaela. Like, no one cares about Jay. Like, if you're gonna like try and bring in some firepower from these other shows, fucking do it.
People really not to care about Jay at all.
No, dude, compared to some other people from Survivor that they could bring on, come on.
Like I don't know.
Like, bring on Tony, dude. Bring him on. Like, who gives a fuck? Who's not going to be on board for that, dude?
It's just not going to happen.
Like, dude, like, people on Survivor hear that Tony's going to be on another show. You don't think people are going to tune in for that?
People would. It's kind of like Boston Rob. Boston Rob's 42, okay? Boston Rob has shown he's a reality show whore. He did Amazing Race twice. He did Celebrity Poker. You just throw enough money at him, these people will show up. Like, he might not be any good.
I just can't see it happening. I mean, it's just not the...
Look at how old some of the people are on All-Stars, dude.
That's a different show.
Yeah, I know, but people talk about bringing them on the challenge.
Well, they didn't.
They should.
Wait, did you say Boston Rob's 42? Boston Rob's way older than that. Oh, no, he isn't that much older. He's 45.
Okay.
Still. For some reason, I thought he was like almost in his 50s or even like in his 50s.
He's still in really good shape. Like, he's not a dude who's like gotten, the dad bod like yours truly has, because I used to be in shape, believe it or not. 4 years ago, I was in shape. I'm not in shape anymore. And so, those are the types of things that, like, if you're going to spend the money on the cast, take that $3 million you're spending on explosions and renting Lamborghinis and TJ's wardrobe, because, they're putting him in some pretty expensive stuff now, whereas he used to show up in biker shorts and a t-shirt and a hat with Monster that I'm sure Monster was paying him to do. Those are the types of things that you take that money and you spend it on the personalities, because them's cheap. If they're paying more than $15K for these international people to show up, it was a waste of fucking money.
I really think that I think the cast members I think they've actually been pretty good in terms of what they've brought to the show individually.
I agree with you. I actually think they've done admirably. The problem is that the casual viewer in the United States they're trying to hook doesn't give a fuck.
Dude, like,
I really don't even. I'm telling you, I really think it's time slot. I think that's the majority of the ratings.
The time slot doesn't affect how I fucking feel about this show right now.
Oh, but we're thinking about two different issues then. That's two different things. Like, if he's talking about bringing in the casual viewer, that's talking about.
We're talking about both.
Well, but you have to separate out in terms of what, like, I think in terms of entertainment value, I think the international cast members have been good.
They've been competing with Survivor and Big Brother on Wednesday night for years.
Devin, it's been since War of the Worlds 1 that they've been on Wednesdays.
What night were they before?
Tuesdays.
And what night were they before that? Because they've changed quite a bit.
I went all the way back to Invasion of the Champions. It was Invasion of the Champions up to Final Reckoning. I don't know before that.
So that was War of the Worlds 1 was how many years ago? 4 years ago?
3 years?
No, 2. War of the Worlds 1 was in 2019.
Oh, well, it feels like it's double agents and everything.
It was in 2019.
Longer.
I'm looking at it right now. It's in 2019.
It feels like 10 years. So why then have we not seen all of those episodes like be towards the bottom end then?
Well, that happened over that. You know, all of them were competing with Survivor Big Brother. This was also when
a lot of those seasons are why weren't any of those Total Madness episodes on the same level then as they're competing?
Total Madness is ratings.
Well, there's also nothing else going on.
No, they were head to head with Winners at War. They were literally head to head with season 4.
In the world that we were all at home.
Yeah, but they were still choosing to watch the challenge live. Yeah. That's the point.
They were aired live. That's what we're talking about here. The ratings.
I just think there was no sports going on. There was no anything going on. What else were people doing?
Dude, we're talking about a different world.
I don't know how to say this differently.
Even before then. So what was before? So War of the Worlds 2, right? When COVID wasn't going on, why weren't more of those episodes? Were bad. There was ratings weren't bad. In the top. No, there was that one episode that was in the top. Someone sent out a list of the top 10 or whatever worst episodes ranked episodes ever for ratings, and there was like what, like one for War of the Worlds 2, two maybe.
No, World War II had the lowest rated one before this, and I had a couple others that were in that group. The ratings were bad.
So then why weren't War of the Worlds 1 in there too?
Well, it's a different. I really think I'd want to look into it. And look, we're coming at this from a perspective where there's a lot of information I don't know. And season by season, there is a noticeable difference, and that spring seasons rate better than fall seasons. That's something that is quantifiable. Like I'm sure if we took the average rating for that, that would be borne out. I don't know what else was going on at that time, and it was 2 years. Like you said, it felt like 10 years ago. It's been 2. I don't know what else it was airing against. I don't know what the ratings for those other shows were airing against. We know it wasn't rating against AEW, like Trace has mentioned a couple of times.
They weren't.
Which
They were
could
not
be
running
bigger
against
ratings
AEW.
back than all of those.
Yeah, because I mean AEW is averaging like a 1.2 right now, and the challenge is hovering in the 0.6s. But the challenge, just for Total Madness, they were regularly hitting 1.0s. I mean, I know part of that's pandemic, but Double Agents kept up a lot of that momentum too. I mean, they had some episodes hit 1 million viewers. And so I don't know if it's because we're just oversaturated with the challenge, but I think at the root issue, there's 3 things that have occurred, and they have to fix all 3. Fixing just one of them isn't going to solve the problem. They need to go back to Tuesdays because AEW is just, they're red hot, and they're only going to get more popular as they suck viewers away from WWE. That 18 to 34 demographic is going to watch a live wrestling show over a taped challenge show if you watch both. I mean, I just feel that way. There are going to be some hardcore challenge fans that choose the challenge, but a casual viewer of the challenge is going to pick AEW if they like wrestling. That's just what's going to happen. The next thing they have to do is fix the casting because, like we've talked about ad nauseum, like I truly believe it doesn't matter how good the foreign players are. I just think that the casual viewer doesn't care. And unless they've been around like a bear where your personality is so over the top and you are so entertaining to the point of you can't deny, like you can, if you were to show someone who's never seen the challenge before, but they like reality TV, if you go back to Total Madness and show them that whole Bear Kayla situation with the offspring and Wes and Johnny taping Kayla's boyfriend to the ceiling while all that's going on,
The fire extinguisher.
they are in. They are in.
Like Bear's one of the most charismatic people I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. And then the third issue really boils down to me the format problem. You know, they need to simplify the names of the seasons so that it's easy for a casual viewer to flip through and go, oh, the challenge is doing Rivals. Awesome. Vendettas. The season might suck in hindsight, but when you see the challenge Vendettas, you go, oh, these people have an axe to grind against each other. I'll watch that. Final Reckoning, even though, again, a shitty season, the name of the season says a lot. War of the Worlds says a lot. Total Madness means nothing. Double Agents means nothing. Spies, Lies, and Allies really means nothing.
I think that we need to separate it out into 2 separate things. I think the ratings is, again, I really think it's vast majority is time, especially now that Trace has brought up the AEW thing. That wasn't really something I was aware of. That does make a lot of sense, though, to me in terms of how that's sucking out viewers. For my personal enjoyment, cast refinement's a significant part. For me, the format, I do think in hindsight, I think the season actually would have been a lot better if it was just formatted like World of Worlds.
Sure.
Like if it was international, if it was just rookies paired with vets, and then there's no pair switching, and then because then they would actually be going at each other.
I mean, what really ruined this season? Like, if you could like only change one thing about the format of this season, it would be not allowing them to pick any 2 people, or the winners being able to pick any 2 people to go in against the house vote, and then they had to pick an actual pair. That ruined the season. And I wonder, what did they think they were going to gain by doing that? Like, what did they think was going to happen?
It's just one of those things like, oh, let's tilt the scales a little bit this way to see how it goes, and they just don't think through it fully or play it out in their mind of how that plays out. And they probably also didn't anticipate the best would be this locked in with each other.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think that production was like, there's no way these vets will really cooperate. These people love to stab each other in the back when the time arises, and instead they've actually held it together. So from a production standpoint, they are probably, when they were filming this season, praying for Fessy to do something stupid politically. They were waiting for Josh and Fessy to go at each other because you're just praying that something happens that shakes this up. Because right now it's chalk. Like next week, I have no doubt there's going to be 4 rookies in that elimination. Like no doubt.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't bet against that.
No.
What's the hope? Is that Fessy and Josh like almost kill each other, and then one of them happened to win the mission?
But one of them's gonna get sent home if that happens. Like if they almost
or
kill
both
each
of
other.
them get sent home. Who knows?
Dude, honestly, that might be how all this ends. Like
Do you think so?
what? Both of them just like getting an actual fist fight. I think Josh is more likely to instigate that than Fessy. Like Fessy seems like he's been like pretty level headed about this, even though he's made the wrong decision and like we don't agree with the decisions that he's made. Like Josh seems like he's been more emotional about it. Like he was the one literally screaming at the top of his lungs at Fessy on the elimination ring, and then when we get back to the house, he's like crying with Amber. I don't know if he was actually crying, but like he was like outside talking with Amber B. And Fessy was just kind of explaining to everyone in the house, in that room, kind of like his thought process.
Yeah. Speaking of crying, we didn't even talk about Anissa like breaking her shoulder and then getting DQ'd.
I mean, what's there to say? Like, I mean, I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
She like in my mind, she has no chance to win, or like next to no chance to win. I hope she's okay and feeling better. That's how I feel.
It's just one of the it just sucks to see. She was clearly very broken up about it, so it didn't seem like it seemed like a bad injury. It's never how you want to see anybody go out.
It looked as
you never want to see
anyone
get
separated a shoulder. As I've separated a shoulder, it fucking hurts. I don't care how much painkillers they give you. You hurt your shoulder, it fucking hurts. Like period.
How do you think she hurt it?
Falling. I think she tried to like catch herself falling. She fell.
Is that what it was?
Because the wall. And like I think she tried to like brace herself on the fall, and it just popped out.
So you think it was on the brace? Because one thing I noticed too was when she when she fell down, she seemed like she was about to fall, and she tried to like catch herself. And I wonder if that was what separated.
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean it did seem rough, and she was very disappointed with that. So that's obviously sad to see. But we didn't even talk about that. Though honestly, I feel like from this episode, what will we remember in a few weeks? We'll remember that probably, or remember Gabo or the situation.
It's not even part of the show.
Yeah, and then maybe Huey screaming for no reason in deliberation.
What if they just bring the situation on?
They've thought about it apparently.
I mean, I heard that the reason they didn't is money. They had an opportunity to bring on the Jersey Shore.
How much would he want?
Oh, dude. The situation.
That's the thing. That is what kept this.
Wasn't he like selling hubcaps for money?
Well, nowadays you could bring them on. Here's the thing. The challenge missed the hugest opportunity in the world in what we would consider one of the golden years of the show. During the cutthroat through like Battle the X's, the Jersey Shore was like the #1 most talked about reality show on the planet. Like every fucking body saw an episode of the Jersey Shore, and even if you hadn't, you fucking knew what a Snooki was. Okay, I'm using the F word a lot tonight. Maybe I need to put an explicit notice here. Maybe it's the whiskey.
We have just my general like we should we just need to it's gonna make a better show for us. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. Anyway. But they had an opportunity to bring the Jersey Shore cast on, and the reason they didn't do it is it was cost prohibitive because those people were getting like $25,000 an episode to do the Jersey Shore. Some of them were getting up to $100,000 an episode for the Jersey Shore.
How much are they getting now?
Guess what?
Nothing.
Much less. And I'm guessing that's why they're working again. So guess what? The Situation's net worth peaked at
$2.4 million.
Gonna blow everyone's minds. That's your hint.
Oh, it's like 10 million then, isn't it?
Rob.
14.
10 million dollars that Jabroni was worth.
Yeah.
How crazy is that, dude?
I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, honestly. Like, how much is like a TikToker worth these days?
Guess what he said? Yeah, but this is before then. This is before social.
Well, I know, but they had a full market to themselves in terms of being,
But see, that's the thing. When you go back to the classic Jersey Shore, the first season they got paid peanuts. The second, third, and fourth seasons, they were getting like $100,000 an episode.
Dude, Vinny was so poor that like he almost had to go home the first season. He like had no money. Mm-hmm. Guess what? It says the Situation's net worth is now
I
Oh,
don't even
probably
want to
800
guess.
grand.
It's probably like in the negatives.
It says 300 grand.
Yeah, I believe that.
That's why he's back on the streets, dude. He's hitting the pavement again.
Well,
Let's
what's
get
that?
him on.
Don't.
Let's
Well, I
make
mean,
a
like
phone
Vinny
call.
and
Pauly D.
who was it? Who's on the dating show with Vinny? The Double Shot of Love.
It's Pauly D.
Yeah, Pauly D. Yeah, they have their own. How much are they getting paid for the dating show now?
Less than most people would think, I'm guessing.
Well, compared to a challenge cast member, how much are they getting paid?
More than that, because it's more of a time commitment, I bet.
I feel
Oh, you
like
think
bringing
so?
the Jersey Shore
Challenge films
cast.
for a long time.
I
Go
feel
ahead.
like bringing them on now is a waste of money. Like you're not going to get any net gains from it.
If you bring the situation on, dude, like
I
that's
think
not
there is a novelty to it that would just be intriguing. How old are they?
Oh, they're in their 40s.
Situation's
They
in his
have to be.
40s, I think. Situation was like old, dude. The situation.
No,
when he
he's
was on the show-
39.
The situation when he was on the show was like in his early 30s, I think.
He's only 39. I mean, Lolo came on and was like that age.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I
he's
mean,
39?
you could
I
do
have
it.
it
because,
right
I
in
mean,
front of me, Devin. July
price
4th,
tag is
1980. Oh,
definitely
born on July
lower.
4th. Look at that.
He's so American. There you go.
There,
He could
yeah.
be on,
Pauly D is
Battle
older
for
than him.
Independence.
Pauly D's 41.
I think there's a novelty to it that would at least be like. I mean, Vinny's only 33. Vinny's young.
But you see, here's the thing, and here's what I think happens. We talked about, if you haven't listened to the bonus episode, if you're not a Patreon, I would recommend doing it for these bonus shows because in addition to getting
Become a
the, like,
patron.
Chronicles,
It's $4.
it's $4.
It's $4
man.
a
You
month.
don't even a pumpkin spice latte if you get a venti is $6 now. So I mean, come on, help a brother out. Help a brother out. I got kids, man. I got kids. I got shit to buy. What this boils down to is that's the people you put on the spinoff show Legends we talked about on Patreon. That's where the Jersey Shore really gives you your advantage is to sell that show. I don't think it helps the regular challenge at all.
That's a good idea.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
But I was
bring
going to
in
talk
the
about
Jersey
MTV
Shore.
feeders. Like, that's the MTV feeder. I think there is a novelty to it that would just be like. I mean, it would just be, intriguing. Like, it's also. I mean, they're not. I didn't realize they were that young, to be honest. I thought they were
Yeah.
much older.
Neither did I.
Here's the
Like,
thing.
for some
Can
reason,
you
I thought the
imagine?
situation was much older.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine if in the Rivals 2 era, if Situation and Pauly D were a team on Rivals 2?
Oh,
Like, can you imagine the ratings that would have occurred at that time?
well, it was Situation and Vinny. They kind of had
Vinny.
a thing out for each other for a little bit. Like
You would
the
have had to
like there was a
pay.
period of time when like, dude, there was a period of time when like no one liked the Situation in the house. Like he was like public enemy number one.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need
Dude,
on the show.
do you remember? Dude, do you remember the
He
episode
can be the new
like,
Pauly.
when he like headbutted a wall and he like fucked up his neck? And so for a while he was like walking around with like one of those like neck
collar.
braces on. Yeah.
Like, how do you think he would do? I mean, they're older now. I can't imagine they're.
Not
In the
well.
same
I
shape.
think he'd do very
They would
poorly.
not do well. They would be thrown in very quickly. Yeah, they would be
I'm
right
curious
for the
as to what the
picking.
reaction of the house would be. Okay, but can you imagine if the situation showed up now with Gabo? Gabo would like have a heart attack.
Oh, dude, Gabo would have lost his mind if a member of the Jersey
Dude.
Shore was on this cast.
It honestly may have been close to kind of what it wouldn't have been close, but I don't know. Like there may be some aspects that would be similar to like when T.O. was on.
Yeah, that's
Where-
not a bad comparison.
Like he's the situation. Like there was a period of time when like everyone knew who that guy was. Like
And when he was on
That
Champions
was-
vs. All Stars, no one could have given a flying shit that
Do you
he
thi-
was on it.
do you think that
No, he got actual airtime. Like that was on like when he fights with CT. That's on like actual ESPN.
Dude, I
It was.
still
I remember.
maintain. I wish that I had actually put that in my top 6 in hindsight. It should have made it because that
It is
moment,
just crazy, right? Like
The
it's
fact
just
that
so.
CT punked him out hard. Like it, and T.O. had zero comeback. Like zero comeback to it. And he quit
What
the
if they
show
had
because
actually
he got
fought?
punked.
What if they actually like thrown hands and stuff? Like what would have?
I would-
been just.
I would have think that CT would forever be a legend for being the guy that punched out T.O. because a lot of people really hate T.O. CT would have been a god among men on ESPN.
How much bigger is Tio? He's a couple inches taller.
Tio, he was in incredible shape that season too.
Really
Like,
He looked
he's
like he was
always been
about
in
to like.
phenomenal shape. Dude, I remember when I was in college, and we were like watching ESPN, and this girl came in the living room, and she saw like Terrell Owens on TV, and she was like, "Who is that?" You know what I mean? Like, he's always been like
When
in like
he's doing push-ups in the driveway when he was
yeah, dude,
holding out
like
with the Eagles.
in like the NFL where it's like the best athletes in the world. You know what I mean? Like, he like still stood out amongst all of those people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looked like he legit was about to go into like training camp or something. Like he was in.
He was trying
unbelievable
for a
shape.
comeback, if I remember right, and he was doing the show for that publicity, so didn't work.
Yeah, I don't think he did very well for squashing any locker room concerns people may have had.
No, if CT from the challenge punks you out that badly, his NFL career was really dead after that. So,
Was he on the same season as Lolo, or is that a different season?
No,
different
Lolo's
season.
Chance versus Pros.
Yeah,
If they
Lolo
had both
season
of those on the
1.
same season.
Yeah, Lolo was
He is
season
on
1
the
and
same
Tio
season as Justina Valentina, and remember Riff
CM
Raff?
Punk. Oh yeah, Oh God, Riff Raff. Probably okay. We're so off the rails, and who cares at this point? Riff Raff may be the worst person to ever be on the challenge ever, and that
In terms
covers
of
a
what?
lot of ground. Overall competitiveness, giving a crap, like
I
he
mean, plenty
did
of
not
people have
care.
quit before.
Well, no, he didn't just quit. He literally did not show up for an elimination that he was
left.
contractually obligated to show up for because he wanted to go to a concert.
I don't blame it. So something. All right, this is something that's been bothering me for a while. What do you guys think about the uniforms this season? Because I think they're fucking terrible. This is
That they're
something.
wearing in the missions.
Yeah, I think they're awful. Like,
I
I think
barely noticed them.
that's something else that they kind of like gravitated for. Like, they need to wear the same color as their partner. Like that. They need to like.
Why did they switch from that? That is weird because now they just have like the helmet has like a stripe on it.
Mhm.
It's the same color, which is just
It
not the
needs.
same.
They need to have the same uniforms.
Since War of the Worlds 1, they've moved to having kind of a monochromatic uniform setup, which I just always thought
Is
was odd.
Under Armour still supplying the uniforms? Because I haven't seen the Under Armour logo in a while.
I don't know. I guess the thing is, Devin, with everybody switching around partners, I think everybody's going to have like 17 different colors of jersey.
Oh, who
Yeah,
cares?
but I mean,
it takes
it
5 minutes
helps.
to create a new jersey.
Dude, it helps for the eliminations and it helps for the missions too. It just helps like keep it in line. With
I agree. I'm telling you, I 100%. If you ask them why, that's why they say it is.
What would they say?
Yeah.
That everybody's switching around. We can't
Who
use
gives a
this one.
fuck? It takes like 10 seconds.
It
What
does.
do
It
you
literally
think
takes
they say?
5 minutes.
What do you
to
think?
fix
Why
the
do you think they would
uniform.
say?
We could make these. We could make all these like ahead of the fucking time before the season even started, and make like 17 different uniforms for each person, and just solve it. Let's go like $30 a uniform. Who gives a fuck? Like, it's literally no
They're
money.
spending
look,
millions on pyro, and they're gonna pinch pennies on T-shirts.
I'm telling you, I think that's what it is. Because
And
back
when
in
they-
Dirty 30, on Dirty 30, everybody has because you need the orange, the pink, the blue, the green.
I mean, they
But why
did
did
this
they-
before. Go
Dark
back to free agents. Like literally, you showed up to the mission in the all black, and then depending on if it was a pair, a triad, or 4 teams or 2 big teams, they had different uniforms for each person that had their number and their name on the back. So they've done this before their budget exploded. Like this is an easy thing to fix.
Well, it's also like you have so you're going to need to have 16 different colors at that point. Then
So they didn't do it.
I
Doesn't
think-
matter.
Here's an idea. I don't think it wouldn't be possible at this point in time, but the moment that the Miz like takes like a little bit more of a secondary role in wrestling, that it's not like his like full-time career, they need to make him the host. I think that would just why not?
he's got better stuff to do.
We just talked about how we're going to invest in the cast more. We don't need to let's do this in the US. Let's try, and he doesn't even necessarily need to be the host. He just needs to be involved in the show in a larger way than he is right now, because I think that would be huge.
Did he really like bring in for Champs Versus when he was the host though?
It was a big deal because it got mainstream coverage that he was doing it. Yes, it was a deal.
I don't remember that as much. I remember the TO fight actually making pretty decent news at That I do remember.
Yep.
I don't know about.
And Miz's reaction to that whole situation was one of the funniest moments of that whole thing. Watching him go, like, because I remember Miz did an interview during the season, and he said in that moment he was like, "T.O. doesn't know that CT would kill him." Like that was Miz's response. Is that T.O. does not realize that CT would literally eat him for lunch.
Yeah, I don't think T.O. did his homework before that one, probably.
No.
All right, let's put this thing in the can.
I mean, we went an hour and a half on this turd episode, so there you go.
We're not going to
really. We should put a note that says, "Listen."
We're not going to do power rankings.
No, okay.
I had some hot takes on power rankings.
No, we're done. Let's just end it. Like, I mean, we're like,
let's put Old Yeller down.
We're gonna end on top, Rob. Well, what you can tell us your hot takes. Like, I was
gonna move Tori up to us. I was going to move Tori up to number 1 for the woman and Nani to 2.
How is that a hot take? You had her like super high before.
I had her number 3 before.
So
a hot take would be saying
no, Rob. You had her like a couple weeks ago. You had her like number 1 or close to number 1.
Well, I thought people would be out on Tori. People are usually out on Tori. I thought bringing her number 1 would cause some fervor.
No, like.
A hot take would be, I'm putting Big T at number 1. That would be a hot take. Yeah. And then I would call you an idiot.
Rob, you had her 2. No, you had her number 1 the first episode of the season.
I had her as my pick coming in, but I thought bringing her back up to it would be significant.
You had her as number 1 2 out of the 4 episodes that we've done so far.
I'm aware. Now it's 3 out of 5.
I don't think it's a hot take at all because she's pretty much like avoided like any like thing that like any backlash whatsoever for what happened in the one episode where she was in power. What are your other hot takes, or is that it?
That was kind of it.
That was it? All right.
Okay, we need to end on a better note than that.
What else can we talk about?
No, we're 90 minutes in. The episode runs for 50. We talked about it for 20.
I don't know how we made it to 90 minutes on this.
You know what it was? Yeah. We were gasping for air, and then we switched subjects at minute 48, and that's when the fire came. So on the episode, I'm going to note, just skip the first 40 minutes. Just tag in around minute 48. That's really where you care about the show.
Dude, we were dead. Like, I mean, like, there's just wasn't a lot to talk about.
I literally... I mean, I feel like most of our Patreons know this, but for those, if you're a public listener and you're still listening, God bless you at this point. I have a lot of work and I have not gotten a whole lot of sleep. I fell asleep multiple times during this episode and missed gaps of time, and I still didn't miss anything. Like, I still understood exactly what was going on. I mean, it was a waste of time. I'm sorry.
Because
this episode wasn't bad, but it was not good.
I definitely want to make a point for us to talk about everything that happened in the episode, like in like broad strokes, like all the big things, because we've gotten criticism about that in the past, and I think that's like fair criticism. Fair. And I even like told the person about that because there were like episodes from last season where we kind of like yada through stuff or didn't talk about it at all, and so now we definitely like make a point to like talk about like any major things that happened, and if we don't, we literally just forgot. And I feel like we did that, right? Like, I feel like we did that in a pretty quick amount of time.
We brought up a niece around an hour and 10 minutes in.
No, we did that earlier on, too. Like, we brought that up, like, earlier. We just didn't say anything about it. We said that you went home. But, like, what is there to say? I don't know. Did we forget anything? Is there anything here that,
at this point, we have definitely not forgot. At this point.
Is anyone, like, banging their desk, be like, you guys didn't fucking talk about it? Yes.
If they are, God bless you. You were way into this episode more than I was.
I'm curious as to what it is, if there is something.
Yeah. I don't know. Right. I think the big takeaway.
And with that, we're going to end this episode.
Yeah, with that, we're going to
Armstrong. Thank you for listening. The Challenge Chronicles loves you. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a good night.